Hello class, this is lesson 5-4 titled Correlation and Causation. Let's start with causation. This is something that occurs when a change in one variable produces a change in another variable. For instance, if there is a low amount of rainfall, then that means that probably there won't be as many green lawns. Correlation is something that occurs when two variables move in coordination with one another. Okay, so they have the same trend that you would see on the graph. For instance, all those points might be moving upward to show this positive correlation or downward for this downward trend, but it doesn't mean that the two variables you're comparing actually have anything to do with one another. Whereas causation is actually cause and effect, so they are related. So let's look at some examples. Here it says that the data shows the consumption of mozzarella cheese per person, this is each year, and the number of mythology degrees awarded in the US, again each year. And we're going to determine whether the data illustrates a correlation between the two or a causation or neither, okay? So looking at my graph here, I can see that they kind of have this trend. So I would say that they have a correlation. They have a positive correlation. Now, I have to think outside the box. Is there any causation between the amount of mozzarella cheese that people consume and the number of mythology degrees that people get in the US? I can't really think of anything. So I would say then that consuming mozzarella cheese does not cause anyone to get a mythology degree, as cool as that is. So I would just say then that there is no causation for this particular example, but there is a positive correlation. All right. Well, let's look at this example. It tells us that the data shows the number of hours Atticus worked and the amount he was paid each month. Determine whether the data illustrates a correlation or causation or neither. Okay, so I'm just looking at my graph and it does look like there is a trend. So I would say that there is a positive correlation. So that was the easy part. Now we need to kind of think outside the box to determine if there is any causation in this example. So I would actually say that there is. I think that there is a relationship that you can tell between the hours that Atticus worked and also the pay that he earned, which makes sense to all of us, right? The more you work, the more money you make. So there is a causation for this example. And maybe there's some other reasons that you could come up with, but there would both be a positive correlation and a causation. So to conclude this lesson, I have one example for you to try on your own. And as you could tell, there is not a graph with data, but it says a university experiment showed a negative correlation between the average weekly time spent exercising and the probability of developing heart disease. Does this represent correlation or causation? So to do this, I want you to explain and list other factors that might be involved so that you give me a thorough explanation when you are done. And that's it. So come with any questions that you have in class. I will see you all then.